Welcome to the Full Bull Podcast, where we discuss all things bio-nanogenomics. We hope everyone's doing well and that the information presented here can both inform and entertain. It's important to state that nothing here is financial advice, and no one on the Full Bull Podcast is a financial advisor. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the show. Okay, well, I guess we're going to get started, guys. Welcome to the Full Boil Podcast, episode 4. We're super stoked to have you here. Let me tell you, this is a special episode that we have for you this week. Normally, we're recording these on a Sunday. Today is Tuesday, March 9th. It's about 7:30 on the East Coast, and we have something very special for you today. You're not going to want to miss it at all. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me introduce you to my boys. We got Jeff, a.k.a. The Jefford Effect. We got Henry from Henry's House of Gains. We got Michael, a.k.a. Super Cunt. I'm Justin. It's going to be an amazing episode. You're not going to want to miss any of it. Make sure you stay tuned with us. Couple things I want to highlight right off the bat. Jeff is taking a deep dive for us into the conference last week where King Erik and Queen Alka absolutely smashed it. We're going to talk about the news of the week in a new segment I like to call Justin with Justin. Michael, of course, is going to be bringing us his fantastic philo commentary, and Henry always keeping an eye out for everything the retail investor needs to be looking at. Guys, this week was absolutely crazy. Last week we saw a lot of red. Jeff, Henry, Michael, what the fuck happened? Please tell us.
I was dead the whole time.
Yeah.
I was dead, and then I came back to life yesterday.
80 something, dead. I believe. 5.
Ooh. Yeah, that market was.
What was the low? I think it was like 580 something.
585. I think it was 585 or 586. Maybe it was. Yeah, I think
either way.
And that was like within a penny of my.
No, 558.
My dollar cost average.
It went down to on the 5th. Yeah.
But yeah, it was crazy last week.
558.
558
now.
All right. Yeah, that was
the sad thing was
horrible.
I bought a 10 call when we like banked down to, what was it, like 9 or something. I was like, shit, 10 calls so fucking cheap, it's gonna bounce so hard, and then just
basically from there, from 558, it's been a steady climb.
You know.
You know what? Me and calls don't work.
Yeah.
I snagged
I was looking
$8 strike call for real cheap when we were at about 657.
Oh, dude, you're up. You're winning.
Score.
Bro, I paid, I think, 72 cents.
Oh, fuck. It's already in
for
the money,
that
too.
March 21st $8 strike call. We're up a little bit on that so far.
Hey, how many contracts did you buy? Just one? Just one, boy?
Just one, because my margin was already all used up.
Money's money.
Let's see. So at 73
cents. Have some dry powder. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Yeah, but back to the red week, I mean, that was pretty crazy. If you actually look back on BNGO's chart, it was red since about February 14th. If you looked at the chart, it was on a gradual downtrend since the 14th. I took a look at that, and it was pretty amazing. But the fact that it just dipped really hard on Friday was outrageous.
Books, we just started to make timestamps for editing.
It's been a steady climb from that low at 558. It's been a steady climb. We hit a high of 934 today at around 3 o'clock Pacific. No, that's Eastern time. And right now we're at 912, and it's kind of settling down, dropping a little bit after hours here. There's another 15-17 minutes left in the trading.
Well, I mean, we did close out the day. I think we closed out the day. End of day was 9:02. So the fact that we're up in after hours is an excellent sign. But I think they rolled out with the earnings reporting at 1:30 Pacific time.
What do you guys think about? Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in Justin with Justin a little bit more. We got a big drop from BioNano this week as far as when their earnings report's going to be. What are you guys thinking about kind of, we were obviously like super susceptible to like the overall market forces, right? I feel like the NASDAQ shit the bed completely. Tech, everybody was running scared from tech, it seemed like, into value stuff. And we are rallying pretty hard back, it seems like, whereas a lot of other things maybe are not. I think the market has kind of picked its winners.
Yeah, it was kind of a shaking loose of some of those stocks that were trading out of bounds somewhere they shouldn't really be, and so it's kind of been reset.
See, I thought that too, but I bought five shares of Tesla around 610 just because I was like, I can afford five down for right now.
5 shares of Tesla
at 610. I was like, you know what? Let's just see. And so I'm up like $500 on those or something.
Of course you
like
are.
That.
This market is so fucking.
It's so stupid.
Oh
God.
Well, it's a good time. It's a good time to be buying.
Hey,
but no, I mean, we're
gains,
definitely
all right.
Gains are gains. I mean, if I would have had the money, what I had my eye on was the 700 Tesla C Tesla call. It was like $6,000 for an April 21st 700C, and I was like, there's no fucking way that's not going to, like, that would be like $20,000. That would be like a $20,000 fucking come up, and I just didn't have.
Kathy kind of sold me on the Tesla. It's like she was on CNBC.
She was plugging it, eh?
Tesla hard.
Yeah,
she is still uber Tesla bull. Uber Tesla bull. That was fucking insane. Everything on my watch list was on sale. DNMR,
yes,
30% off of its all-time high. It was half price off of its all-time high, rather. CPSH below $10. Ooh. NPA below $12. These, like, UAVS was like $6. Things were on a huge sale. What I learned through this was that having dry powder is important.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was not able to take advantage of any of those, really.
I watched Henry just I watched Henry just cry through the whole week. He was just like, man, like, if I just had the funniest for me, I think, of the week. I mean, there was a lot of funny moments. There's a lot of great moments. One great moment, Starbear is going to get an early shout out this cast because he always gets right at the end. But my favorite thing ever happened this week, and that is Starbear got fucked. And he always gets fucked. Bro. But you can like set your watch by how he makes his calls, right? And so he was like, we were downtrending, and we hit like 587 or whatever it is, and he bought a 5 put on BNGO. And it just bounced off that 1 cent. And just rocketed like the other direction.
He literally did the meme. I don't know, guys. The stock was going down, so I sold, but then it started going back up again. So
but didn't he say who's with me or who's joining me?
Oh yeah, who's with me?
Yeah, who's with me?
You are on your own. You are on your own. Bro, listen, don't ever bet against BNGO.
Henry, you were down
Never bet against
quite
BNGO.
a lot when it was at
Don't do it.
558, weren't you? You're the biggest holder here now.
Yeah, when
I didn't have this many.
Realize that I was. Maybe there's
Henry the
somebody
bingo
else
whale,
besides
dude.
me, but yeah, someone's got to have more. They're just not very outspoken about it. But I've got 21,000 shares at 588 or 589.
580.
What was the low?
I think
I missed it by a penny.
558.
I think that's where I was at.
558 was the low. Yeah.
558.
Oh wow.
My average is 559.
So you're up 21,000 pennies.
So yeah, I hit zero.
Wow.
Yeah, I was totally out. I didn't even want to look at my account. I didn't look at my account for like 3 days.
Just ignore it.
Just did not want to see that. But now that it's back up over 9, each dollar goes up. It's $22,000 per dollar for me. So the fact that it went up from that 5 to 6, 7, 8, 9, I'm almost back to where we were at. So it's looking pretty good.
Right.
But definitely looking forward to maybe a 10 tomorrow.
I will just.
That's hashtag speculation.
For sure.
Bro. I'm just going to take this opportunity to say that normally we're recording these on the weekend. Markets are closed. Today is a Tuesday. So we have gotten to see kind of the recovery that maybe we wouldn't have been able to talk about so much if we had recorded on Sunday. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, if we were doing this on Sunday, we would be a lot sadder than we are right now.
My eyes would be all glossy and
we'd
red.
still be crying.
This would be very sad.
We would be crying so much right now, dude.
We'll be like, why? Why did it drop?
There was some interesting moments. So when everything was like tanking still, so Henry convinced me to buy WTRH it must have been beginning of February, something like that. And I was holding those calls forever, and then it had that little bounce because they talked about that partnership, and it bounced up to like 410 and brought me to like 80% of what it should have been at, and I sold that. But on the bounce, because I got the news, I bought 1,000 shares. And it went up like $1.20, so I made like $1,200 on that bounce, and then sold my call, got out of WTRH with basically no loss because of the little bit of bounce on the way up.
This dude thinks he knows how to play the stock market. Look at this guy,
dude. It was a moment. It was a moment. It never happens. It never works that way. So maybe this week will be one of those weeks that just works for us. You know what I mean? I have great feelings about it. Like, I also wish that I had tons and tons of dry powder sitting around because all right. So the thing about earnings that I was thinking is. So we talked about it. I think episode 1, maybe episode 2 was the first time we speculated. I mean, it must have been 1 because it was the first time we speculated about earnings, and we always speculate about earnings. But we were saying either it will get dropped on a Friday if they want them. I think it was Jeff saying that if they want us to be able to think about it all weekend, they'll drop on a Friday. And if they don't, they'll drop on a Monday. And with everything going on and all the ups and downs, I think they're trying to avoid having something happen on like over the weekend and have it tank on Monday, or have something crazy happen on Monday that they're like that can't account for whatever reason, or something to that effect, and then also have the whole week for people to react to it.
Okay, all right. So I think the BioNano guys, King Erik and their investor relations people, I think they really looked at the calendar. I think they really know what they're doing. They bypassed this red week for sure, because if they would have done it, on the 4th or 5th, I think it would have been bad overall, right? And then their estimated date was like the 9th, which would have been today, which would not have been good at all too, right? So, the fact that they're also going to skip March 19th, quadruple witching day, I mean, that, and they're pushing to the 23rd. I think they really looked at the calendar and figured, you know what, let's not do it this Friday. Let's not do it next Friday. Let's not do it on a Monday. Let's not do it on a red week. They picked a solid day, March 23rd, on a Tuesday. I mean, I think that's great planning on their part.
Do you think perhaps they were listening to, who is it? Somebody knows who wrote that fucking song on a Tuesday? You know what I'm talking about, right? I'm going to put it in because going up
maybe
on a Tuesday. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Could be.
You know what I mean? Like they're so smart. Like somebody was talking about it in chat too, where we just they're so good at it that they've really proved to us that we can kind of trust their judgment on these kinds of things.
True. I was doing a little trolling on LinkedIn and I saw that.
I've never heard that statement before. All right, go on. Yeah, Brandon sentence.
Oh shit.
No, I was looking at King Erik's profile, and it said something like he was CEO, but it also said that he was a speaker. I was like, oh, he was a speaker, so he's really good at speaking. But it had something else in there too, which caught my eye, and I can't remember what it was. And I tried to go back and find it; it wasn't there anymore. So either I didn't go back to the same place or whatnot. But his titles were amazing. This guy is a thinker. This guy's been doing this for so long. He knows the business, and I think in one of his videos that came out recently, he had said he started Bionano with dark hair, and now he's all gray hair. I mean, he's in for the long term, obviously,
hair,
right?
To go with his diamond hands,
diamond hair,
which aren't holding any shares.
Diamond hair,
incidentally. well, not. I think he has. I think
he doesn't have any shares.
Henry has more than he does.
Which is like 9,000.
I don't know what to think of that. It's interesting, eh?
Yeah. Henry has more shares than the CEO.
Than
Erik Coleman does. So, I think that they weren't publicly traded until 2018. He bought some,
right? Do some freebies.
Or he had some because of his like contract or whatever. Yeah, and he's not gonna. I don't know. He just doesn't strike me as the dude who's gonna like hype that.
He doesn't look like a pump and dump guy.
Yeah,
you know what
totally.
I mean? This guy's legit.
Prior to going public
Everybody
too, so I'm
else
sure
comes off.
he's covered financially. You know, he's not relying on the shares for his future. He's the CEO.
Well,
he gets paid a lot.
Yeah.
If he was to buy real big, big enough that it could actually make a difference one way or another, he just strikes me as the kind of guy that wouldn't want that unhealthy motion. He's not there to do that. Like, he knows if he brings the facts, and brings what's good, and that it'll do its thing.
Yeah. I think even Chris Stewart had quite a bit of shares too.
I'm not sure on that one.
Chris Stewart had quite a bit.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So. Yeah, so I think that the kind of wrapping that back around, we're gonna see in the lead up. I want to go like kind of full tinfoil hat here a little bit. I think they know something that we don't know that is going to come out between now and the 23rd. Some study that's being done, something like that.
That's an interesting hypothesis.
That's going to come out like on that Monday. They're going to slap us.
Yeah.
They're going to slap us with something like that on that Monday and then hit us with earnings on Tuesday. Why do it on a Tuesday?
Yeah,
nobody does shit on Tuesdays, bro.
That's why they wrote that whole song.
I think they had time to plan it. I think they picked that day for a reason.
No, actually, I didn't even think about the potential for them to do something on Monday that contributes or adds to, or maybe even on Friday and let stuff boil over till Monday, and then have touch base again. Like,
or it's not even them. It's like some institution is starting to use sapphires or whatever.
Yeah, the next 2 weeks will be very interesting to see what unfolds, what the price does, and see what news we get.
I think this week is going to be really good for all kinds of swings. Probably the only thing I have to really bring to the table that I thought was really fun and interesting this week is my plan is to wake up tomorrow sometime around 5:30, have coffee in me by 5:50, and be sitting here waiting for Roblox to drop, because I want to get in on that with everything that I have available.
You're buying Roblox?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. When WSB Wall Street Bets was heavy into Roblox, everybody was just waiting to pounce on it. And then when they postponed it, and I can't remember what the reasons were. What were the reasons? Anybody remember? It was supposed to come out.
I can't remember either.
Yeah, they postponed it because the timing was really going to be really bad. I think Airbnb was coming out with their IPO. I think somebody else was coming out with their IPO. So it's like major, heavy hitters coming out, and they were like, you know what, we're going to hold off on ours. Now that they're coming out, I don't know if it's cooled off or whatnot, but I know that Wall Street Bets was hugely behind Roblox at one point. So
I just know I know it's going to be volatile. I know it's going to drop at a weird time, but I'm going to get in and hold for 5 days. That's my plan.
That's tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow morning. Yeah.
Hey, so
I'll be here, buddy. I'll be here.
So real quick, back to the insider holdings. I'm not sure how accurate this is as far as when this was put out, but I'm on Fintel, and it says that Erik owns only 1,600 shares.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably accurate.
And then Chris Stewart, Chris Stewart owns 8,000 shares.
They know in 10 years what that means. They don't need more. 1,600, he's set.
Yeah, he just needs 1,600. He's good, right? I'm pretty sure there's something written in his contract. If he hits a certain number in his earnings, they'll probably,
you've been a good boy.
Give him more.
Yeah.
I would think so because, yeah.
He's never fucking selling.
He's never fucking selling. Not at 1,600. That's not going anywhere. He needs to add to it.
Oh, man.
But he probably has that at like 25 cents, though.
Just a certain uncertainty in the market as to, what is value. What is anything worth if you can just run it up with a group of people all with the same plan. That's what the stock market is.
That's just what it is.
They're doing it in a different, well-organized way with almost 10 million of them now on WSB subreddit.
Yeah, totally. It's so fucking wild. Like the layers, the inbreeding. It's like how
inbreeding.
Well, it's like how I think of old money. Old money does this, right? Like old white folks do this. They give money to each other all the time and collect interest on each other all the time and just get more rich from each other by doing nothing. And like that's what's happening is there's like a little subculture that's just inbreeding money and giving it to each other in interesting ways, and it's just going to keep on happening. They're going to figure out new ways to do it, and new creatives are coming out of it. Like the memes that come out of WSB are just unbelievable sometimes.
Dude, they're just churning them out.
It's unreal. It's unreal. Yeah. Like some of the music, some of the songs, unbelievably catchy, unbelievably
high quality.
Good. Like
it is
high quality art. Art. Like
not.
It's not just like some bullshit. It's art. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also all right, so I'll do it. So there's definitely some philosophy to be done on this, and not just in aesthetics, but it's kind of Marxist what they're doing. Like they've kind of formed a collective and brought their resources together so that they can control the means of their own production, right? So like they're not fucking selling, they're just holding it, and they're like generating this whole new style of art and culture that allows them to express themselves as owners of the means of production. They act like landlords basically, which is fucking cool to see people who technically don't own anything like act like they own stuff, but in a way that's got a togetherness and not like and against each other. Like even if you get three people who own three different buildings in the same city together for coffee, and you listen to them talk, like they're still competing with each other. And somehow Wall Street Bets has like chopped that competition out and realized that it's when we, apes together strong, right? Like it doesn't matter how many shares you have, doesn't matter what you are, like you're just as important as anybody else.
And you don't fucking sell. And you don't fucking sell. Don't fucking sell. It's all about diamond hands,
it's all about diamond hands.
And there's more shenanigans this last week with Simon.
Dude,
people have been calling him out and hassling him.
This is going to be a thing.
It's just been ridiculous. He had to like. It got pretty heated actually in one conversation.
It has gotten a little.
I can't remember that guy's name, Dale or something like that. He's like, you could tell he was pissed off, or that's
what's
right.
his name?
Bonus level
bonus
fund or whatever. He was just really giving it to Simon and
bonus level fund,
saying, "Oh, what's going on? Something's going up." And Simon came on and answered him and was not very happy. Just leave him alone. Leave Simon alone, please.
By the way, I just emailed Andrew.
You emailed him?
I did. I emailed Andrew for Investor Relations at BioNano and asked him
keep
if Eric's going to be on with Kramer. So we'll see if he responds to that.
What was the biggest? Maybe the biggest thing to drop last week.
The AGBT.
Was the conference.
King Erik and Queen Alka.
Oh, that's right. I'm going to get another water for this.
AGBT is the Advances in Genome Biology and Technology. Called the AGBT conference. And I have some clips we're going to go over. We'll play the clip and then we'll just talk it over a little bit.
It's a great question, and I have my views, and I would love to hear what Alka says. I think Structural variation is a little bit of a sequencing term. I think in sequencing, we think about sequence variants, single nucleotide variants. And so naturally, when we start to think about chromosomal rearrangements, the idea of structure and structural variation comes in. In the early days of the Human Genome Project, which is why we like to remind people to go back to the map, it was a fundamental principle to think about how the genes and other functional elements of the genome were organized on the chromosomes, across some chromosomes when the genome was being put together. And I think the idea of structure and structural variation grew out of that original thinking. But cytogeneticists like Alka and other cancer biologists, people doing research and work and medical treatment in genetic diseases, hematologic malignancies, solid tumors, have been using the tools of cytogenetics for years and years and years to look for these chromosomal rearrangements. So it's not something new. The reason it feels new is that for the first time, and I think BioNano has been at the forefront of making that happen, but tools have been evolving to make it much more accessible to analyze genome structure. And so this is why we think cytogenomics and cytogenetics is reaching into its utopia phase here, because they can become a part of big biology. When it was just karyotyping, fish, microarrays, gel electrophoresis to analyze genome structure, nobody wanted to use those in big clinical trials. But now that the Sapphire system makes that accessible the way it does, the way that other systems are approaching genome structure, now the structure analysis of the genome can be just as important as the sequence analysis.
So they Eric's saying right now that they're kind of in a utopian stage, reaching a utopia level with the technology. They've known structural variants have existed for a long time, but they never really fully understood what it meant for it to be missing, deleted, or damaged. I kind of gathered from that. Anyone else have any comments?
We do not know the role that large structural variation plays in full. We don't understand it, and the reason why we don't is exactly because of what Erik just said. The traditional forms of cytogenic testing, fish, those types of things, are really labor intensive, extremely expensive. So they don't incline themselves to being conducted in large scale clinical testing. To do something like that, you would need not just one machine that made it super easy and cheap and fast. You would need like a whole warehouse of these machines, probably someplace really sunny like San Diego. And you would fill that place with these fucking machines, and then people would send you samples from all over the world, and you would charge them $500 a piece, and you would run that shit. And that is how you're going to do large scale clinical testing.
Before it was always about sequencing, and they didn't really understand the other side of it. Is what about the structure of it rather than its sequence? What are we able to see, and what are we able to learn from its structure? And we're finding out that it's huge.
The reason why sequencing is such a thing is because of the Human Genome Project. We had all of this huge amount of momentum going into single nucleotide reads, right, to do the entire human genome, and none of that had to do with cytogenics, right? Yeah, hit us with clip number 2.
Structural variations are not new, because structural variations have been analyzed or have been interrogated as a part of the genome since the 1970s. However, the issue was that there is a limitation with every technology that was adopted in the clinic for diagnosis and detection. So structural variations have been around for a very long time. So let me just, add that, in clinical diagnostics. But from there, between then and now, I also, was at another company as the head of cytogenomics, where the focus was to try to use sequencing technologies to interrogate all classes of variations that happen in the genome. So whether it is structural variations or whether it is sequencing variations. So we realized pretty quickly that there are a number of disorders and a huge part of the genome that cannot be accurately interrogated by short-read sequencing. So as part of that, people still need to diagnose and to find the genetic causes of a number of genetic disorders, whether it is cancer, whether it is children with disabilities. And this is where optical genome mapping comes in. So if you remember last time, as from the other side, as a laboratory director, I had been waiting, like my colleagues and peers, for a technology that can be the next generation cytogenomic tool that has high resolution, that can provide more.
We're good on that.
My favorite part about that was that she used the D word. So there's this whole. I just applied for a research grant for. It's like a medical conference, but basically it's in research and diagnostics, and they're looking for decision theorists to write up abstract papers about diagnostics and diagnoses versus screening. And it's like fucking right up my alley. But the cool thing is whenever somebody uses the D word, whenever they say diagnose versus like screening, what they mean to say is that what I have going on here is so accurate that if I give you an answer to your question in this frame, that I'm right. Like that's like a trick. Like when somebody says diagnose in the medical field, like that's a trigger word. You should believe them. So.
Yeah, that is not something that they throw around lightly.
It's like
whatsoever.
cunt in America.
Pretty much exactly like the cunt word. Jesus, what is wrong?
One thing I did know she said is that the SVs have been around since the 70s. There have always been technical barriers. That's kind of what I took from that.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what, they were using karyotyping back then, right? I mean, they're talking about
right.
Old technology where they used to slice and dice and look at every little piece. It's like you take a whole jigsaw puzzle and break it all apart and let's go ahead and pick up a piece and figure out what the hell it's all about. That's karyotyping to me.
Well, so karyotyping, they're looking at entire chromosomes. Originally, like how we know that there's 23 chromosomes, right? Is that we took pictures of them under a microscope and looked at them. That was the first optical genome map, if you will. And since that technology has developed now to a point where they are able to stain certain parts of the chromosome, and that allows scientists to get a better view of different parts of the chromosome. So that has allowed them to a certain extent be able to recognize insertions, deletions, that kind of thing through like traditional.
Yeah, so they basically summed up, they've known about SVs for a long time. It's just coming now to the point where we have the technology to do something about them, and we see them easier and we see them cheaper, right? Okay, so let's go to the next clip. Clip number 3. Pull my microphone headset out first.
Clip 3.
And so this technology has incredible utility. The question is, where is it going to be adopted first? And what we're actually seeing now that we have finally reached a critical mass in like weekly or yearly throughput. So around 96 samples per week, upwards of 5,000 samples, human genomes per year can be analyzed on the Sapphire system. This is sufficient to accommodate many large research studies, translational research studies, but laboratories can adopt the system, research use only, develop an assay and validate it as a laboratory developed test, and then use it in patient testing. The question is, how would they use it? So they would be following medical guidelines, right? Today, they're following medical guidelines and using microarrays as frontline in genetic testing or karyotyping in cancer. And so the Saphyr system can actually be used as an alternative to those modalities. So it can do everything karyotyping can do and more, everything that chromosomal microarrays can do and more, and fish as well, with the exception of some rapid fish assays. So there are some fish assays that are very fast. So this becomes a compelling capability that labs can adopt. Where are they going to adopt it? Guess what? In Europe, they're adopting it very, very broadly with a focus on replacing these traditional cytogenetic assays. And so we observed this, we saw this, and we wanted to follow the same path here in the US. But what we learned is that a lab that's running a workflow and getting reimbursed for it is not always super enthusiastic about changing that workflow when the reimbursement is somewhat ambiguous. And so this is an area where we are uniquely investing, and Alka is leading an effort around a number of clinical trials to develop the data sets in 4 areas: prenatal, postnatal, constitutional genetic disorders, hematologic malignancies, so leukemias and lymphomas, and then solid tumors. And so within those 4 areas, we're building an incredible data set of analytical validity. The clinical validity and clinical utility of these biomarkers are already established. We don't need to prove that. They're being tested for every single day.
Boom.
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 That's
the whole
exactly
fucking
right.
ball
That's it,
game
yeah.
right there, man.
Yeah.
Jesus.
They are already fucking doing it. And that's what I'm saying, man. When they're saying, when people are like, oh, well, clinical adoption is going to take time, they don't know what they're talking about.
That's what we were just talking about, the last clip. Yeah, the technology
Exactly.
is caught up. Now we just need adoption.
We
Adoption
built
is
a better
what- is
microscope.
the only barrier we have right now, and one of the
We have
barriers, sub barriers, is covered or as reimbursement. They need reimbursement because they have a workflow that's already getting paid by the payer.
Right.
The insurance companies are paying, and they have all this equipment that's paying for itself. It's already paid for itself, and so now we just need to get to that stage where we get over the crest of the hill, and we're climbing right now because we need to get more units out there so that this can be adopted sooner.
I mean, like, people are coming at this like this is some sort of new, completely new way of doing things. And while it is, it's rooted in an already well-established way of doing things. If your kid is 2 or 3 years old and goes to a clinician for autism testing, okay, and the clinician, like my wife, gives them, whatever cognitive or language test, the next step is they're going to run FISH or CMA. Well, I mean, autism's maybe a bit of a reach because it's still really new, but there are already things out there that this is the frontline test already.
And I think
karyotyping, FISH, CMA is already the thing. Like,
and then Dr.
we have a better microscope.
Dr. Alka Chaubi, I mean, that's what our big push is, to get the clinical adoption is to get everybody aware of it with the symposium and there's the webinars. She's getting the word out there. She's got all the backup and all the proof that she needs from all these doctors and laboratories that are proving that Saphyr is their go-to equipment. They've done all the research. They've done the work. They've proved it to themselves. And then Dr. Chaubi, she's basically just channeling all their efforts to show everybody, to showcase what Saphyr can do. It just needs to be adopted, quickly now, because the old stuff's just not working as fast as it was before.
And like he's saying, also, the adoption's already happening in Europe. In countries that have single payer systems, they're already adopting this. I mean,
I should have worn my Mark shirt. Sorry, go ahead. You go.
That's good news. Okay.
they're already doing
You guys
it.
want to go to the next clip?
Yeah, man, Eric's good. Okay, hit us. Clip 4. Let's go. Clip 4.
Let's go.
4 areas, we're building an incredible data set of analytical validity, the clinical validity and clinical utility of these biomarkers are already established. We don't need to prove that. They're being tested for every single day. Right. But we need to prove that the system works like those other capabilities do, illustrate that benefit to payers, and we expect to see reimbursement increase here in the U.S. And so then the U.S. can start to catch up with Europe and other single payer healthcare system countries for the adoption of this technology. And what we believe, actually, and we've seen so much adoption and use in research, different discovery programs over the years. But what we really believe is actually once the technology is broadly available as an LDT, for example, in labs that have developed the assay and offer it, the research use will pick up, because then if you discover something using Sapphire, there will be diagnostic testing that can be. It will lead to them. So those things go together, and that's where the big biology comes from.
Okay, so Alka, have there been LDTs already created?
Absolutely. And prior to my joining BioNano, I actually did validate optical genome mapping for a very unique muscular dystrophy disorder that is very difficult to diagnose, and a number of very cumbersome technologies are needed just because that part of the genome is refractory to the conventional methods and even to sequencing methods. So this is where, as Erik mentioned, that these long linear molecules come into play, and they have such a huge utility to pick up these large structural variations. So I'll tell you like a little bit of a personal thing that almost 5-6 years ago, when I first saw optical genome mapping and these DNA molecules shooting through the nanochannels, it was one of the most beautiful technologies that I had seen. And this was, at the time when I was still at Clivo Genetics Center.
I love that she just goes in and just starts calling it beautiful. Like you can hear the excitement, like that first time, where she was like, "Yes, like this."
She saw it and she's like, "I want to be a part of this."
5 years ago. Damn
she
it!
Hopped on board, and now she's playing a major role in.
That's exactly what happened when I met my wife.
Lined up, and I swear she's probably working with the Augusta University with their LDT that they're working on as well, or maybe it's done. I'm not sure exactly on that, but you can hear the excitement in her voice, and from something that happened so long ago. That's pretty neat.
Yeah,
what?
She hit us with the LDTs. That's what we talked about on episode 3. Jeff brought us the FDA is bullshit, and LDTs are taking us to the fucking moon.
That's not always the case. You don't always need FDA approval. That's just a habit. It's
if somebody asks that,
it's not a drug.
They don't understand what we've got.
FDA is basically for it's exactly. Thank you, Jeff. It's not a drug. And we're talking about a medical device, and
it doesn't cause any harm to any individuals.
It's a tool.
It just has to be verified that it being used as a tool has efficacy in the laboratory.
I will tell you one surprising thing that stood out to me in this section when we were watching it. In previous conversations that I'd had with Vitronk about things, I was super bullish on the prenatal testing sector. So, and Vit had kind of explained to me that listen, man, that's farther off. Solid tumors, leukemias, that's now. Now. But man, they sound so bullish on the prenatal testing. Here's the thing, and this was Vitronk's point, where we do have a machine, right, that does not do any harm to the patient. There are important decisions made based on prenatal testing, right? So the efficacy has to be absolutely proven when using that. Whereas when you're diagnosing leukemia, right, you're probably using this as one of many functions to get a diagnosis, right? And it's not gonna lead someone to make a life or death decision. So there's a lot of, I guess, a lot more weight when it comes to like prenatal testing. But they have sounded completely
one of the four.
Bullish on it. I mean, they're leading with that. That's number one.
Okay. Next clip.
In research, you want to be able to find that one cell, out of 100 that could be responsible for the phenotype that's being observed. And the Sapphire system can do this very straightforwardly, rapidly, and at low cost. So it really positions it to be a powerful tool for discovery. Those are a couple of really interesting examples that we've seen and that are being described, presented, and published.
But I think Erik's point here, and why I think this clip is actually incredibly important, is because what he's saying is that through sequencing, it's much more difficult to if you pull a sample of 100 cells, right, and only 2 of them have the cancer mutation, and you're running a sequencer, it's going to be incredibly difficult to find just those little tiny pieces of those 2 cells out of 100. Well, okay, we've looked at 100 molecules. This is probably a terrible analogy, but okay, we've looked at 100 DNA molecules, right? And 2 of them are really fucked up, guys. There's something really wrong here. But with sequencing, we're not going to get that picture at all.
Yeah, okay. You want to follow up on that, Erik?
Well, I'm sort of, inspired to think of one thing, and I don't think it's controversial, but in working with Alka and Ravi with the consortium that they have put together and observing the growth, and then subsequently reading things like their NIH grant and the manuscripts that they put out, there is a belief amongst these scientists and clinicians that genome structure and variation of genome structure, genome structure and variation of genome structure is very likely to be as important. That's the sort of political way of saying it, and maybe even more important than sequence variation. And so why is that? Of course, I think that because we're the structural variation company. That's what it says there. We love structural variation. We don't focus on sequence variants, and there's a reason for that, because if you want to get to single base resolution, you have to slow the system down. So we made a conscious decision to say, well, we're not going to do single base resolution because we want to go fast. Right. It's got to be relevant for large studies, clinical use, and clinical applications of LDTs is what I mean to say. It's got to go fast, so we'll sacrifice the single base resolution. But the other thinking is that large rearrangements in the genome can impact many genes, many other functional elements in a single swath. So, like a tornado is a really big deal, and when it goes through a town, it's pretty mangled often afterwards. But a heavy windstorm doesn't often produce that effect. And so structural variation, the hypothesis is that it's driving a lot of biology. The technical challenge is that because of the repetitiveness of the human genome, it's not just the human genome, plant genomes are even more repetitive than the human genome. The human genome is the one that gets all the funding, good. But it's so repetitive that resolving the repetition is required to see its structure. And so, I believe that the work that they're doing in this consortium around COVID and, how patients respond to the disease and progress, these other areas, we talked about neurodegenerative disorders, cancer, the amount of biology that's laying there, that's been invisible. It used to be called the dark matter. Right. It's huge. It's big. It's substantially, it's substantially large. Maybe larger. That's not for me to say. That's for us to figure out.
Well, I appreciate you going into that. I mean, if somebody's going to know, you should have a kind of sense of that, right?
Okay, that was a little bit of a longer clip, but some important stuff there.
I'm so glad that he brought the city analogy into it, because now I'm totally validated, and I love everything about that. But the idea of resolving repetitions, like putting a period in a structure, is such a cool way to talk about it. I watched it when he said it, and I totally had forgotten about that part. It's such a good way to explain what it is that they're trying to do. If stuff is so repetitive, if it doesn't have a beginning or it doesn't have an end, what's the point in looking at it, right? Well, like what, it's like if we didn't have punctuation, we wouldn't have books, right? Like it'd just be a bunch of fucking words that just goes on and on and on. And so the punctuation is really what it sounds like he's saying. What it sounds like he's saying to me is that the punctuation is the kind of thing that determines like emergent biology, or like he was saying, like the phenotype. The thing that says blue eyes is not, there's so many things that say so many things, but the one that says blue eyes is between these two periods, or like this comma.
Yeah, he wanted to really make
clear,
and I think he did, that the structure is, if not as much, if it's probably more important than the sequence of it, knowing where everything is. Yeah. Anyway, anyone else want to add anything to that one?
Applications. So big biology is going to come somewhere else. We know about spatial biology. It's incredible. Single cell biology. But within the genome, within the nucleus of the cell, structural variation is it. So we feel we're very much at the beginning of the movie. We think it's going to be an incredible movie. And we're excited to be at the forefront in helping it unfold. But we're very much at the beginning. And that creates a unique challenge for scientists who want to work in this space, because when you do sequencing and you do resequencing and you find single nucleotide variants, there is an abundance of databases out there for which you can look for that variant and see if somebody else has seen it and described in the literature. There has been no tool that allows that systematic discovery and cataloging of structural variations. One of the most important steps in that process was taken last week by Charles Lee, Jan Corbell, Evan Eichler, who are the co-chairs of the 1,000 Genomes Consortium, which has been focusing on structural variation for over a decade.
They published a major character in this movie.
Big players, and they published an incredible paper. BioNano was part of it. Long-read sequencing was a part of it. Illumina sequencing was a part of it. And the most complete collection of genome variants ever, spanning ethnicities. And this is the starting point. There's some 100,000 or so variants in there. And so this is really the start of having information to begin to rationalize that N+1 discovery. And so when we build that
All right, that was a little bit of a longer one too, but oops. Any thoughts on what he said there? He said we're very much at the beginning of the movie, so that's exciting. We're part of something that's right at the grassroots.
Never fucking selling.
Never.
That's the bottom line right
selling
there,
a thing.
Because I mean, we're on the ground floor of optical genome mapping. I mean, it's the only game in town. They have literally no competition, and they're just gonna go ahead and swipe away all the old legacy equipment, all that other stuff that they've been using. Right. This is going to be the go-to. Simple as that.
This is also the digital documenting of structural variations. There hasn't been a way for traditional forms of karyotyping or cytogenic tools to easily convert these images into a digital format that then can be databased and that other scientists then can use as a reference. BioNano is the first, or one of the first,
collecting the data,
data to be able to do that
in a way that everyone can understand.
That's
one of the hurdles of adoption, is that a lot of clinicians, are going to look, if they hadn't presented it on a computer screen so they can understand it, it's useless to them because they're not trained in what to look for, and so having the software do what it does is huge. How it presents it in in a pie chart, or it's all spelled out and identified. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Anyone else? Any thoughts?
Yeah, that circuits chart that they have is amazing. So you're able to quickly visualize where all the issues are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you fucking love that circuits chart. I gotta say,
I do. That thing's amazing.
Love that thing.
Are you kidding? It's amazing.
All right. Ready for next?
All right.
Clip 8.
Clip 8.
So Alka, we're over halfway. You're very passionate on this topic. This is AGBT. Have you said what you want to say? Erik said the movie has yet to play out. How do you see the movie?
I completely agree with Erik, and one of the reasons is, as I mentioned, karyotyping and has been in use since when? Like 1970s. The reason why it's been there, right? And then fish evolved and standards and guidelines came in. Remember, there is no FDA approved or cleared for karyotyping our fish. I mean, those assays are all LDTs that have been used since 1980s and 90s, right? For the most part, there are a few.
Our queen just dropped a bomb. No FDA. Yeah, and
She basically said everything is old.
These other processes are being paid for, and they don't have FDA approval. She said, with the exception of a few small something, but for the most part, it's just LDT. It's kind of like what I was saying in episode 3. We don't need FDA approval. As long as there's an LDT for every disease, then the sapphire will be used to find it, to find that variant. So I found that pretty interesting. Yeah.
Never fucking selling.
Yeah. I told my brother-in-law, because he don't fucking follow nothing, right? He don't follow stocks or anything. He's like, dude, what's going on with BNGO? Because he bought he bought a couple $100 worth of shares, and he rides my ass
down
about it. You'd think he had $1 million on the line. I mean, the stock could fluctuate like 1 penny. He is calling me like, what's going on with BNGO, dude? I'm like, bro, the stock market has crashed. Do you understand?
It's just not BNGO. It's everybody,
tech,
for the most part.
Tech is fucking taking a shit right now.
Yeah.
I was like, listen, dude. I told him, I said, man, listen.
Not everyone knows.
This is still the unicorn. Nothing has changed. He's like, has anything changed with BNGO? I said, no. It's still the unicorn that is taking us to Tendy Town. Do not fucking sell. Don't do it. You will regret this.
Especially if you only got a
Props
couple
to
hundred.
Queen Alka
like,
for throwing that shade.
Just hang.
I appreciate
Just
that.
hang.
Bro, what are you doing?
I love it.
Yeah. Bend the knee to the queen. Guys, remember?
I never
you guys
watched
remember
that.
Game of Thrones used to be
I've
a thing.
never seen a
You
thing.
know what? That never even interested. Never watched it.
Oh, dude, you guys need to fucking
Zero
start.
interest.
That's a damn thing.
You gotta start today. You can both use my HBO login. You're
You know what? I'm hooked
Bro.
on Fringe right now, and I can't believe that's been on for years. If I would have known it was on for years, I'd be watching that shit every day.
Friends.
Now I'm binging.
Now you got.
Dude,
now you
I am
can, like,
binging.
binge
It's
that
insane.
shit. Yes.
Friends is unreal.
Binging, much like how Sapphire consumes DNA molecules, you should be consuming Fringe.
Dude,
just
it's
all
nonstop
that.
information. Let me tell you, it's good stuff. I love Fringe.
Next clip.
So many seasons to go. It's crazy.
9.
Clip 9.
U.S.-based institutions, because there are idiosyncrasies associated with those genomes and those samples and those programs. So a data set, and we're working on that. But it's not just a data set, it's really working with other labs or having other labs see the need for and utility for the capability, setting it up, developing LDTs, applying for their own reimbursement codes, proprietary laboratory analysis codes, and then testing patients and sending the bills to insurance companies.
So it seems during the AGBT, they're really trying to stress that that labs create LDTs and develop their own tests that then they can submit to the insurance companies to get paid back. Does that sound right? Yeah, true. Yeah.
Or they're dropping hints.
Yeah, I mean, they were talking about they were assigned the MOLD DX Z codes for Sapphire testing, which is an important step to enable more widespread reimbursement of OGM by private and public payers.
The Z codes is how insurance
covered
companies like communicate
procedure.
What is an acceptable? What's covered.
It's huge. Now that they got the Z codes, they get reimbursed.
Sounds like Eric's talking specifically to these clinics and saying,
Making
develop
money.
these LDTs, and then you're gonna get, and then submit those to the insurer. Yeah, and you'll get paid. Change your workflow. It's gonna be a little process
And
when
you
they
will
switch
get
over.
paid.
Exactly.
But he's trying to spell out the blueprint as to how they'll do that. Right? Yes. Anyone else have anything to add to those or to that? We'll go to the next clip. 3080.
Clip 10.
This optical genome mapping is a very unique technology, right? That it fills the void in so many places. Just one technology that can even enter the prenatal clinical application space to postnatal, to leukemias, lymphomas, and solid tumors. If you just look at, as I was mentioning earlier, the continuum of care, it just is an ideal technology. But there's more work to be done, absolutely, because every lab that wants a platform wants it to be cost effective, wants it to be ease of adoption, wants to be able to do the analysis and interpretation in a manner that is understandable, right? A lot of the genome or genomics or information that comes out, a lot of algorithms need to put into place before you can make sense of all of that information. What we are trying to do here is to, provide these variants in a manner that the labs can understand it, relate to it, and can immediately understand the clinical interpretation or application of it. Now, in terms of what we are trying to do here, what I would like to see in the next, in this year and the next year is exactly what Erik was alluding to. We are going to be promoting and doing a number of clinical studies with a number of our partners and early adopters of our technology so that they can develop all of these applications. And now we will be directly working with them so that we hear their voice. What do they want in their lab so that we can help them do their job better? And no matter which way we look at it, do we need to develop more sample type applications? Do we need to, how much more throughput do we need to increase? Do we need to reduce the turnaround time? What would be the most cost effective way that they get all of this high resolution genomic information and it is affordable for them? And along with that, allow them to make sense of all of this data that they have never seen before. But they can look at, relate to, and say, I get it. I know what the structural variation means. I know I can see this translocation. I don't need 20 years of experience to sit on a microscope to look at a metaphase and say, I don't know what this is, and I've not been trained on it. But to look at optical genome mapping data on the screen, and it just tells you exactly what's going on in the genome, is something that, I think that is how we'll be able to help all of our customers. So this is what I would like to see this year. There's multiple applications by multiple laboratories, and just to, move forward in that direction.
So that was Queen Alka.
So what I hear is her saying, "Help me, help you. You tell me what you need, and I will give it to you." Basically, right? Help me, help you. Right.
100%.
And her goal is just to get, not only just the widespread adoption, but just to get the information out there. What
labs, clinics,
Sapphire can do. That's the bottom line.
That they're there to help them, support them, and give them whatever they need. Whatever niche their lab is in, then they want to be able to help. And like I was kind of saying prior, one of the previous clips about how it's going to be easier adoption if the clinicians know what they're looking at, and the software helps them do that. It breaks it down and it shows it in a pretty little picture, little pie on their screen to see what's there. That's pretty neat.
Right. I mean, she basically said, you don't need 20 years of training. You know what? It's right there in front of you. You look at it, and because they already have the knowledge, they can decipher it pretty quickly. How much more training do you need, right?
Bro, she said you don't need 20 years of experience to look through the microscope and then still miss it.
Very uniquely special
and then still miss it.
It's right there.
That does amazing things.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Holy moly, dude.
Insane in the membrane.
Insane.
Right.
Insane.
Next clip. 32.
Insane in the brain. Clip 11.
Going forward. But, we raised, I don't know how else to call it. I mean, it's a ton of cash. We've always been capital starved. This has been a limitation of bio-nanogenomics from the time that I joined. I have been the CEO for over 10 years now. I joined in January of 2011, and I didn't have any gray hairs when I joined.
Okay, so
my wife said it to me the other day, and my wife the other day says, I only have gray hairs now. So, there's the natural progression, but we view it as having another decade to work on this, and that it's it's our calling. It's our calling to drive this forward. And so are we going to become more of a diagnostics company? Guess what? In August of last year, we acquired a CLIA business focused on pediatric neurodevelopmental disorders. So we are selling services. It's called Lineagen. So through that business, we sell services. We have salespeople who call on pediatric neurodevelopmental specialists and pediatric genetics specialists every single day. We have tens of samples coming in the door, hundreds of samples per month of kids who are trying, and their families who are trying to figure out what is driving their biology by looking at their genome. And the reason that we did that, and maybe this is what you were talking about, is that if you want to be good at providing solutions that help diagnosing patients, you got to know something about diagnosing patients. If you want payers to pay for tests that your customers are going to be buying from you and utilizing, you got to be talking to the payers. And so through the acquisition of Lineagen, which is an incredible team based in Salt Lake City and around the country, on the sales side, we have a whole host of contracts with payers, and so we're interacting with them multiple times per day, right? It's part of our business. We're interacting with patients. We have genetic counselors. We're explaining to families what their chromosomal microarray and whole exome sequencing results mean. So we have that. And so when I think about that in the future, what I think about is when we integrate Sapphire into that business, and now you have Sapphire surrounded by whole genome sequencing, whole exome sequencing, and all of these tools. I actually don't know exactly what that's going to produce. I just know it's going to be amazing. The capabilities will be amazing. And by being fundamentally a life sciences instrumentation company, our goal is to proliferate the technology. And so we're going to figure these things out. And as you can see, we're talkative. We're going to tell everybody about it. Right? So our goal is to figure stuff out and then teach people how to leverage those tools and those capabilities. That gives us a ton of joy. That gives us a ton of motivation. We know it's all directed at helping people. And so that's why we look at the next decade and say, for us, it's the decade of BioNano, but it's the decade of structural variation analysis.
Well, it's really fun to share your passion for this, and I look forward to hearing more about that, seeing that in the future. Erik, Alka, this has been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Theral.
And thanks to the folks at AGBT and LabRoots for making this a successful presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. That was a good clip.
So
God,
I'm
I
not
just
sure.
love that so much. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. But I was going to say that, with them acquiring Lineagen, right? I mean, they were looking at three revenue streams, right? With BioNano, right? There's subscription, there's whatever the other two were. I can't remember off the top of my head, but with Lineagen,
Leasing,
right, and then the service,
just,
right?
Buying it
but
off
with Lineagen, that's another revenue stream.
Yeah.
So if BioNano bought Lineagen last year, right, and they're already having a revenue stream, think about that for fourth quarter earnings.
Yeah.
Is that price? I don't think
They're
it
going to
is.
be expanding.
They're looking
They're gonna be
strictly at
expanding Lineagen. I think
BioNano.
that's one of the reasons they bought
I don't
that
think so
place
either.
I don't think anybody's
down the
talking
street from
about
you.
that.
Right.
Well,
Right,
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that BioNano was having direct one-on-one contact with patients and explaining what their reads are and what it is that's going on, and that they had, what did he call it, genomics counselors? So fucking sick.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but
through
with
Lineagen, yeah.
I didn't realize
That's
that.
what
That's
that's what
awesome.
Lineagen does.
And Lineagen, just to give you a little food for thought here, in 2019, they made $7.3 million in revenue in 2019, and then BioNano bought them last year. So can you imagine when we take that revenue and add that to fourth quarter? I think exactly. Justin gets it. I saw this. No,
Nobody's talking about this, my dude.
Exactly.
Nobody is talking about this.
Right? So I'm thinking, their EPS was supposed to be what, negative 0.05 is what their expect is, right? So if
I think so, yeah.
if it's not 0.05, negative 0.05, you know what I'm saying? This thing is gonna fucking
Bro.
Somebody posted a thing today. Oh man, there's no way I'm gonna be able to find it quickly now. But it was what expected for quarter 2, and then it just blew it out of the water. Expected for quarter 3, and then blew it out of the water. And
oh yeah, I posted that in the Discord earlier.
Was that you? Okay, yeah. I was like, there's no way I'll be able to find it fast. But yeah, that's
pretty cool.
That would be
so wise of them to buy a company that they can, they have the instrument that they want to be using in the field. It's not happening as fast as they want, so like, screw it, let's do it ourselves. Let's buy a company that does this, and let's just start producing, our own tests.
I mean, that's why they went from a 25-cent, 30-cent stock to where they're at now. And by end of year, I was pretty bullish with $100 price target. But I think that's still a huge capability at this point. I mean,
I'm just trying to take a look. The boat, man.
You look at the next 2 earnings. I mean, fourth quarter earnings in 2 weeks. Then we have earnings in June. June's earnings is going to be massive, absolutely massive. That's going to put Bionano on the map for sure. But I think we're going to be surprised
on the genomic map.
Yes.
Let's
the
talk
genomic
to,
map.
How we actually got
back to the map.
How did we get that, Mr. Investor? And who tweeted him after that? It was Erik. Erik thanked Mr. Investor.
Yeah, man. Let's give that to listen.
Yep, Miguel. That's our boy Miguel. Yeah, baby.
He did.
He's going to be on the show.
Miguel, listen, you're a real one, man. You are a real one.
He's entertaining.
If you don't already follow him, subscribe to that dude on YouTube. He has a great lead on Bionano and a ton of other stocks that he talks about. Check him out for sure if you don't already.
So he had his members contribute and donate so that he could stream it live. And moments after the stream was dropped, or after the video was uploaded or streamed, I should say, because it was live. Erik tweeted and said tweeted Mr. Investalot's link, I think, to the video. Which is like, well, that's weird.
Yeah, it was on definitely was on Twitter. So
yeah, I love pirates. I fucking
so that's pretty much it for the clips from the AGBT. Some pretty neat stuff. Yeah.
No, it was really nice to kind of go back.
Thanks for bringing us that, Jeff.
Way a little more methodically, because we watched it twice the day it dropped back to back, and then I hadn't really thought about it since. But I feel like the last 2 episodes now kind of gave me a new vocabulary. Actually,
he's really stressing that in a different way. Spread the word, let everyone know, and he said they're excited. And everyone needs to hear about it, so we need to play a part on that too, and sharing.
Well, and he also put in 10 years with Bionano, and he's just ready to rock and roll now.
He's looking for the next.
I'm looking forward to this next decade. That's just amazing.
He's not selling 1,600 of his shares.
Not fucking selling. Never fucking sell.
Or whatever.
Not selling a thing.
He needs to get more shares.
Right.
Come on.
I know. Give this man some more shares in Bionano. He's been there for 10 years, man. Give this man. Let's start a fucking GoFundMe for
you know what? I think his what's the word?
Demeanor.
What am I looking for? His no. It's like his not confirmation, but it's something similar.
It's confidence.
His dedication, maybe. His dedication with confidence in Bionano is huge. That shares don't matter.
Yes, that's one of the reasons I had that one highlight.
He's about saving the world.
Clip is because he said it's our calling.
It's our calling.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's our calling.
It's our calling.
Shares. The money will come. Basically, is what he's saying. Let's go ahead and resolve this issue first. Let's get the Sapphire clinically adopted everywhere, and everything else will solve itself.
Cover what I chose last week. It was Zom. When I called it, it was at 199. Let me just check my charts here. Yeah, when I called, it was on a Sunday. It had closed at 199, and it has since gone up. 2 seconds here. It had a high of 228 during the week. It's down to 206 now. So if you didn't sell on the high, then you missed out on a little bit of cash. But oh no, I'm sorry. It had a high of $3. Yeah, on the. Oh no, I'm looking. I went too far to my chart. My bad. No, it was right. It was 228. 228 was the high. So this week's pick is going to be OPGN. You guys ever held any OPGN? Heard of it? Yeah, they do some kind. They have some kind of kit that does sampling and testing. They just had some good news released right now. But it's at. Let me type this in. 301. Okay. And in the next, I think they have tomorrow. There's. I'm mixing up. Shit, I'm sorry. I got all confused. I'm thinking of two different. But anyway, that's my pick, and I expect it to be. That's what I was going to say. I should have written some shit down. Sorry. So confused. They had just recently had an analyst bring their price up from $5 to $7, I believe. So, just kind of looking at the chart and looking at its history, it looks like it's primed and ready to go up.
Oh.
Yes. And it gapped.
New price target from 5 to 7.
It had a high recently of 410. It was cruising around 163 up to about $2, and on the 8th of yesterday, it all of a sudden spiked up to. We had a high after hours of 410. Right now, it's sitting at 303. So yeah, I think the next of the week it's probably going to go up a couple bucks is my estimate. So that was Jeff's messy Jefford effect. My bad. Yeah.
All right, so let's do price targets and let's run it out.
We've always been so far off, but yeah.
We'll sign off here.
Yeah, we're not good at this.
Yeah,
we're not good at this.
Not my favorite part of the podcast, if I'm going to be honest with you guys.
11:32.
You never know.
Yep.
All right. 11:32. I got you. Hit us, Henry.
Personally, I think I'm gonna say around 11.
I love it. God, that's so strong.
30 to 11:50 at the end of the week.
11:33 to 11:50. You heard it from Jeff. 11:33 to 11:50. I'm 11:32 down.
Hey, listen. God damn it. $15 end of week.
Oy.
Bring it to me, baby. That's the Full Bull Podcast. We'll see y'all later. Signing off. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night.